Hey everyone, welcome to an impromptu video from Ampro Engineering. This is a very, very special one because this is a very, very special car, and I'm here with some very, very special people. So this is Artie's Lunchbox. If you don't know who Artie is, I have a card popping up right now. There's an entire video talking about both Artie and this van, but short story, Artie was one of my best friends, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He left way too soon, but I love talking about people and what they mean to me, their memories and all that. And given this channel and the content here, this is a case where I really want to talk about this vehicle, its importance to me and its importance to his family. So I'm here with Artie's mom and his sister. So thank you both for spending some time with me here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Tell me about this. When did you get it for Artie? Roundabout, of course. Why did you choose this?
Well, we took him to Tony's. We went to Tony's Hobbies, my husband and I, and Artie wanted the lunchbox. And then to our surprise, it said Vanessa, and that was our first granddaughter's name. So we went ahead and purchased the Vanessa's lunchbox for him for, I believe it might have been his birthday.
Yeah, I know it was birthday or Christmas.
About maybe 89, 90, around there that he got it.
So yeah, he always told me that it was this beautiful bright yellow van.
Yeah.
He opened the box, there it was, and he just lost his mind. He loved it.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw it, it was neither beautiful nor yellow. It was melted. It was all black. The wheels were actually held on with some zip ties because they had broken off.
Oh my
The shocks, and I actually have a photo of this. I think you're in it.
Oh gosh.
There's a photo of Artie had a buggy called the Kyosho Raider. Well, the front shocks had broken off the lunchbox. The Raider had broken years before. So Artie had haphazardly wedged the shock for the Raider through here. He had jammed it up inside the chassis with a wood screw.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It worked. We can't argue that. It worked. Wasn't pretty, but it did work. Artie liked to drive this thing pretty fast.
Yeah.
When this thing inevitably broke, how often were you going to the hobby shop?
Oh, all the time.
Every week,
All the time.
you know?
You know, it's with this thing here. So Artie mailed me this 5-6 years ago because he was gonna throw it out. He's like, oh, it's all broken. I'm like, dude, Artie, you cannot throw that out. I said, mail it to me, I'll fix it. So he mailed it up to me, and it was just trashed. The thing is, like, over the years, when Artie and I would go to Covina racing, I had a dune buggy. I had an RC10, which Artie always loved, but he always brought the lunchbox. The thing is, Covina Racing didn't stock parts for this. So because of this truck, I bought my Midnight Pumpkin, which is the same chassis. So I would bring the pumpkin and my RC10, and Artie would bring this. And Artie would take parts off of the pumpkin as he broke the lunchbox. So he did that for years and years and years. So I guarantee you that nothing on this vehicle, save for some screws perhaps, is from when you bought the car.
Yeah. Right.
But when Artie sent me this, it was in such dire straits that I had just finished repairing my Midnight Pumpkin. So I ended up using a bunch of parts from that to rebuild this, kind of following what we had done all those years before. So it ended up getting all rebuilt with a bunch of my parts, which is exactly what we always had done before. You know, so you're looking at the undercarriage. This is how not necessarily all lunchboxes, but how Artie's lunchbox should look. Artie's lunchbox should look used. It should look well loved, slightly damaged, because that's how Artie used this thing. And he must have had, so he got this probably in the late 80s.
Yes. Yeah, because Vanessa was born in 1988, so he must have got it 89, 90 right after that. And even during that time the pool was being built, he would use the
I know where this is going.
he would use before it was filled up, he would just drive it in there.
In the hole?
In the hole.
That explains so
Yeah.
much. That explains so
Dirt.
much. He told me also about the guy that lived down the street, Steve, I think it was. I never actually, this is off real quick. I never actually met Steve. But all these stories he would tell about him and Steve playing with the pumpkin in the lunchbox always resulted in a fire, an explosion, or the pool.
Yes.
So the fact that even the memory of this still exists is something that's absolutely remarkable. Now, the time that when I finally actually got this thing finished, I wanted to bring it to him, and when I came down, he was in the hospital. So I just this isn't recent. This is years ago. He had some intestinal problems. So I didn't know what to do. I mean, I wanted to see his reaction.
Yeah.
You were there.
I was.
Do you remember what happened?
Oh, he was just so happy.
Because
So happy.
yeah, he was in his hospital bed.
Yeah, he was hospital bed. And we were just so happy to see his lunchbox.
Oh, just because usually you don't bring a lunchbox into ICU.
Yeah.
But if you smuggle it in, which I'm okay with, it can happen. So I did bring that in there. I think you brought it back home. But yes, I did present Artie his lunch. It was less dusty. But I did bring Artie's lunchbox to him while he was in the hospital, because what other reason to get better? So funny story in terms of the car's cosmetics. I bought these black wheels because Artie didn't like the yellow ones. And this body I had picked up on eBay years before, and I really didn't like the black. I wanted a different color. But someone had put all the decals on it, and they put them on before the re-release. But these are original decals, so I never wanted to peel them off. When I showed Artie the body, he was like, dude, that's it. I wanted all black, so we put the body on it. I happened to have these in black already, so he wanted those in black. Put those black, put these. So he had all this this blacked out lunchbox. This wheelie bar is his original wheelie bar. He lost the wheel many years ago, which is why you can see that the wheelie bar is all worn down. It's because he was doing wheelies without a wheel. And he loved seeing the sparks that it would shoot out. I remember he had a speed control in this thing here. It was called the Champ. And I don't know why I remember this, but he was called the Champ. Now, Artie's electronics soldering skills were not quite the best. So I remember having the Champ sitting right here with about 4 different sizes of wires coming out of it, zip tied together, wire nutted together, electrical taped. And that thing survived all these motors. In particular, this motor. Now, were you there when Artie went to the hobby shop without Tony, the owner, present to buy this?
I probably was, because
Yeah.
I would drive him.
Yeah.
So it had to. I mean, you would drive us too. You took us everywhere. So Artie, the owner of Tony's Hobbies, Tony, was a pretty ethical guy. And Artie being probably 11 or 12 years old, Tony knew that a hot motor in the lunchbox was not a good idea. The thing is, he didn't know Artie well enough, I guess. And Artie ended up going back when one of the employees was there, a guy named Chewy. Chewy ended up selling him this motor. Now, this is an old Kyosho Le Mans. And as you can tell, it's not in the best of shape. The end bell is from it's one of the Speedworks Sapphire, or I forget, Ruby maybe. These are both Artie's motors. When I built this for him, I ended up discovering that he had given me this box of junk. I was able to piece the 2 motors back together to turn it into this magnificent little motor here. But again, this is Artie's lunchbox. It's not supposed to have some perfect bone stock motor. It's supposed to have a motor that's not appropriate, that looks like it's been on fire, because it probably has. It probably has been on fire. And that's kind of what makes this so much better than, I've actually got a lunchbox at home. That's just, actually that thing's made up of parts from this one too that I was able to salvage. But that thing has nothing on what this car is. This is a very special vehicle. And as I mentioned in the video where I talked about Artie with 2 of our friends, all of my Ampro engineering company is a result of not just Artie, but Artie and this vehicle. Some of my earliest parts were for this chassis. Without seeing this that one day sitting on I walked in the bedroom. To the left was his dresser overflowing with clothes. And on top of the clothes pile was this. I sat on the bottom bunk of his bunk bed. I saw it there, and I reached over, and so these are the stock body mounts, and they're terrible. They're absolutely awful. So obviously they broke. Artie replaced them with paper clips, screwed in place, and then he ran a nail through the top of the paper clip to hold it in place. So although perhaps not the most secure thing in the world, It at least did have the body. I picked it up, I sat it on my lap, and I was like, Artie, what is this thing? He told me all about it. And for my birthday, I got the Midnight Pumpkin, and I have it to this day. And it's sitting right next to a bright yellow lunchbox. To this day, I use it all the time. I've had it since I was a kid. And it has always been the parts car for Artie's lunchbox.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one story I actually told in that video was that Artie, at some point in high school, the car was just beyond repair. It was trashed. So later in high school, we ended up making a fund with some friends of ours, and we rebuilt it. When Artie had taken this car to that track shortly after, and I know I've told the story before, but it's worth hearing again. Artie was a terrible driver. He just was awful. But that one time, and this was at the Ranch Pit Shop, I drove there. We all piled in the Pinto back when it was blue. And we drove the car over there. We all unload. We're driving around. We're all having a terrible day, except for one person. It was hot, so the gas cars weren't running well. The batteries on the higher powered cars were overheating. Well, we had a very low powered lunchbox. Artie had a brand new set of batteries. And we just sat there. And it didn't occur to us until later on in the day, or later on when he was driving that one time, that he was absolutely killing it out there. There were no cars on the track. It was just about 40 people all sitting around the edge of the track, just watching this crappy little Tamiya lunchbox, just hovering over all the little jumps, launching it off the big tabletop jump and just nailing the face on the other side of the face on the way down, wheeling down the straightaway. And it was just like, what? But that was it. That was one time. That was it. It was that one time. And then he came back out later on and it caught fire. But just that one time, Artie was incredible. And that's, I absolutely love that story. I love the fact that thanks to him, I've got an entire company dedicated to a lot of these cars. I mean, I have so many upgrades to this car, upgrades that people never bothered doing because this is just effectively a toy. But thanks to Artie, there's people all over the earth. I mean, thousands of people that have modified their lunchbox, their pumpkins, all the derivatives with parts I've designed, and it's all thanks to Artie.
Well, it does bring a lot of good memories.
Yeah, it does.
And they're healing memories for us. And, you know, in my mind as you're talking, like I can picture Artie and hear him laughing.
That's exactly.
So thank you for bringing such good memories.
Please, it's my pleasure. And that's it. I'm telling the story, and I'm just envisioning him sitting. He's sitting right there, and he's busting up, and telling me to shut up half the time. And you know that's exactly what he's doing. He's cracking up, talking about, hearing all these ridiculous stories about, you know, how he would drive it, how he was terrible most of the time, but sometimes it was just he was brilliant. He worked so hard on these things here. He loved. I remember he had that car. He had a Team Associated that he had bought. He'd modified everything on the car, and then he didn't want to touch it, and he sold it. I was like, "Why did you do that for?" So, but this thing here, I you know, when he told me that he wanted to get a new one, so he was going to get rid of this one, I was like, "Dude, this car is history. This is your lunchbox. It will always be your lunchbox." And I'm very grateful that it's his lunchbox.
That was his very first adult.
Wonderful. I love it. Well, thank you both. I really appreciate your time. I want people to, you know, I hope people hear this and go call and see their friends that they haven't seen in 10 years. You know, I am grateful that every time I was down here, I'd go call Artie and pick him up, go get some Lucille's barbecue, make him pay for it. And, you know, I'm grateful for that. And I get a lot of people that tell me, "Oh, I've been dying to see my buddy, but, you know, things just don't line up." You know, make them line up. Make them line up. Just go call them, FaceTime them, go get a beer, go get something, go drive your toy cars because, you know, we're not here forever, unfortunately. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you, Alberto. I love you so much.
I love you too.
No, thank you.
All right, guys. I hope everyone appreciated this video. I'm glad I was able to see this car, and you know, unfortunately, there's not really too much to look at on there, but it's all about the story and how important this is. And I know a lot of people out there did want to see it, so here it is, Artie's Lunchbox.